Okay, today I'm going to walk you through replacing the Serpentine belt or drive belt on your Mazda 6. Mine's a 2017 Mazda 6 Touring. This should work for any 2013 model or newer. So anything that you need in that area should work. You're going to be replacing it through the front right wheel well. So I'll show you how to take that apart so that you can get in there. So in order to get this job done, there's just a few tools you'll need. So, you know, a torque wrench, a breaker bar. I use this little interior tool, you know, to take some of the clips off. You don't need it. You can just use a flathead, but I would say this does make it a little bit easier. You'll need a Phillips screwdriver, the 13/16 socket in order to get the lug nuts off. This 21 millimeter wrench will help you to turn the pulley, and then this 17 millimeter wrench will turn the tensioner pulley once you get in there to help loosen the belt and then also to help put it back on. Obviously a jack stand, because you're going to need to jack the right side of your vehicle. And then, you know, these are not my old belts. So you have your general drive belt and then your water pump belt. So you'll need those parts, and I'll link to the part numbers in the description that I used. You'll need a clean rag, and then your socket wrenches, and that's it. So pretty basic tools to get this job done. And so hopefully this video will be helpful for you. Okay, so the first step is going to be to take the front right tire off. All the work is going to be done up underneath the passenger side of the front tire. So I use a 13/16 to get that off. And so I'll get the lug nuts off with my breaker bar. And once the lug nuts are loosened, then I'll lift the car up, get it on the jack stand, and then take the lug nuts the rest of the way off. And once you have the lug nuts loosened a little bit, go ahead and get your car up on the jack stand. Make sure you're using the appropriate lift point as outlined in the owner's manual, just for safety. Once you've got it up on the jack stand, I just like to give the car a little shake, make sure that it's safely on, and then you're good to twist the lug nuts the rest of the way off. All right, so these clips come out pretty easy. You just got to work your flathead underneath, and then once this part pops out, they just pull out. And so you'll go all the way around the outside here and just pop each of these out, and they're pretty easy to put back in too. So there's 4 places underneath the vehicle where you have to use a Phillips to get them off. There's one that's right there, just kind of that front corner. There's another one that's back here, and then there's another one near the front, and another one up near the front as well. And so once you get all 4 of those off from underneath, you should be able to start peeling back the front part of the wheel well. So you don't actually have to open your hood to do this job, but the extra light does make it a little bit easier to see things. So once you get down in here, I've seen some videos where people say that there's no tensioner on this vehicle, but that's actually not true. And it'll make this job a lot easier if you use the tensioner. And so you can see right there where my wrench is hooked around. And if you just kind of give this a little bit of pull, you can see that it loosens the belt pretty well. And so that's what that tensioner is there for. It'll make taking the first belt off a lot easier. So I definitely recommend, you know, using the tensioner. And this is a 17 millimeter wrench that I'm using. So you can see a little bit better diagram of what I'm saying. So this is the same place that my wrench is hooked onto the tensioner. So this is the diagram of where the belt goes through. And then again, so when you get down into the part, it's this part right here where you can see just that cast hexagon. And again, that's 17 millimeters. Okay, so I'll try to give you the best angle that I can, but basically you're just gonna pull down lightly on this tensioner, and you'll see the belt loosen up, and then you're just gonna have to pull, you just kind of slide this outside belt right off the pulley, and you're just gonna hold your tensioner down. It's kind of hard to do while I'm talking, but we'll see if I can slide this off. And then once you slide it off, you can loosen the tensioner, let it go back. Don't pull too hard on that tensioner. You just need a little bit. It doesn't take a lot of force, especially if you've got some leverage with your 17 millimeter. And then you're just gonna slide your belt out from where it's at, and then you should be all set. Back on. Remember that there are two belts. So there's the drive belt, and then there's a water pump belt that just goes to the water pump in the back. So it's kind of hard to see back there, but you can see that it just connects to the water pump, and it's just these two parts that it has to wrap around, so it's pretty small. This one does not have a tensioner pulley, so there's a little trick that I'll show you with how you can get it off, but make sure that you remember to take this one off before you put your other belt back on. Okay, so the trick to getting the water pump pulley, or sorry, the water pump belt off, is that you've got to get a 13/16 socket around the pulley, and then the trick here is, and this is just a little trick to get it off, you're going to take a clean rag and you're going to slide it over the top of the belt here and get it just tucked around the belt like this. And then when you're going to start rotating the pulley with your socket wrench, and while you're doing that, you're going to rotate it towards up towards the direction of the water pump. Probably need two hands to do this, but you're going to rotate that up, and it's going to get the rag wedged in between the water pump pulley and the belt. And then when you're doing that, once you get it kind of wedged in there, and as you're rotating it, and don't stop rotating while you're doing this, but you're just going to take your rag and pull outwards while that's being rotated, and then you should be able to pull and pull out and slide the belt off to get it off. So that's how you're going to get it off without the tensioner. Okay, so I got the water pump belt removed using that towel method, and it really is just a matter of wrapping it around the belt and pulling. I couldn't really show while I was doing it just because of needing the space to get under there, but you just pull towards you when it's underneath there and crank, and it should come pretty quickly. And so now once you've got that off, then you can go into back underneath and look at how you're going to add the new water pump belt to your Start with fitting it right around here, around this track, and then you're going to take this part here and just slide it up around just this right around here. And once you've got it slid up there, then you're going to turn your pulley here until it starts to slide up onto, and you're going to pull away from it until it starts to slide just a little bit up onto the track right here. And just by rotating it, it'll start to slide onto it. So I'll show you how that works. Okay, so you're going to do essentially the same thing here, but in reverse. So just like you rotated it before, you're going to rotate this clockwise, and so you'll get this set clockwise, and then you'll loop just a little portion of this belt around the groove, and then as you rotate this clockwise, it'll get onto the groove, and you can keep rotating it until the rest of the belt is on the groove. You got to be careful not to get your fingers caught in between the belt and the pulley, so be careful of that. But essentially you're just gonna slide it onto the track a little bit, and then rotate counterclockwise so that it begins to pull the rest of it on. Continue to rotate this while you're doing it. Try to do it in one motion so that it doesn't damage your belt. Have that on, and it really is just a matter of turning the pulley and just kind of pushing this the belt as you slide it in, and making sure that it's on the track. Once it's kind of on the track here on the bottom or in the grooves, then you really just need to rotate while trying to keep it straight. You don't even have to push really hard, but then you're just rotating the pulley clockwise, and it will move from around, where it was at before, with the, off the track. And if you just put it on that just little smooth black part on the outside, it'll start to feed itself onto the water pump, and you should be good to go. Belts on, then you're ready for the drive belt here. So the larger one that's going to go out on this outside track. Just remember that the way that it looks when you put it on, so you're going to go around the outside of the tensioner, and then over here to, I believe it's the AC compressor, and then up around and down through the pulley over here. So just make sure you get it around in that order, just like it was before, and that you are smooth in each of the grooves along. So this one's gonna be a bit easier because you're gonna be able to have the tensioner pulley, so you're not gonna have to feed it on. You should be able to loosen that tensioner pulley enough that you can get it around the rest of the areas. So I definitely found it easiest to start at the top with the alternator and wrap it around the tensioner pulley and then the generator pulley, and then down, and then leave the AC compressor at the bottom loose. It gets kind of tight up, just kind of down in this area right here to pull the belt through any other way. And so doing the AC compressor last was by far the easiest method to do this, just as a little helpful tip. Okay, so once you have everything on, and everything looks like it's in line, just run a check, turn your car on and let it idle for about 60 seconds, make sure everything's running smoothly, no big squeaks or things that look like they're off alignment. Everything looks pretty good here if you're looking from the top on the alternator. If we come down here to, down below, again, everything looks like it's running exactly as it should. Make sure to do that check before you put everything back together, because it would be a hassle to, take everything apart again, because that basically takes longer than anything else. But once everything is running smoothly for about 60 seconds, then you're good to turn it off, put everything back together, and then just take it out for a little test drive to make sure that things continue to run smoothly. But everything seems to be turning well, and hopefully this new belt will last me another 90,000 miles. All right, so once you get your wheel well all put back together, you get the clips put back in, then put your tire back on and just hand tighten the lug nuts down. And then I'm gonna, I guess just for your benefit, I torque mine down to 85 foot-pounds, and so you get your big torque wrench out and get down to 85 foot-pounds, torque it down, take it for a drive, and then just check the torque again once you get back from your test drive.